Before we delve into the depths of one of the world's most notorious prisons, ADX Florence, let's take a moment to consider the enigmatic figure at its center, Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán Loera. From the dusty plains of Sinaloa to the hallowed halls of international crime, El Chapo's rise to infamy is as legendary as it is chilling. Born into poverty, El Chapo's early years were marked by hardship and abuse. Yet from these humble beginnings, he ascended to become the most powerful drug lord and murderer in the world. His reign of terror traversed continents, leaving a trail of blood and despair in its wake. From the bustling streets of Mexico to the sprawling urban jungles of the United States and Europe, El Chapo's cartel controlled the illicit flow of drugs with an iron fist. He pioneered innovative smuggling techniques from distribution cells to underground tunnels, cementing his status as a criminal mastermind without equality. Despite multiple arrests and daring escapes, El Chapo's grip on power remained unyielding. Until finally in 2019, justice caught up with him. But within the walls of ADX Florence, where every move is monitored and every breath scrutinized, the legend of El Chapo lives on. Could he, the master of escape, find a way to defy the odds once more? Or would he, like so many before him, succumb to the merciless grip of confinement? Before we explore the grim reality of life inside ADX Florence, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Now let's embark on a journey into the heart of darkness, where the line between justice and punishment blurs, and the echoes of humanity linger in the shadows. Escaping from the ADX Florence, the Supermax prison, is incredibly tough. No one has succeeded since it opened in 1994. Despite its formidable security measures, Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán, a notorious criminal, was sentenced to life in prison plus 30 years at ADX Florence in 2019. This prison is notorious for its harsh conditions, earning it the nickname a cleaner version of hell. El Chapo, known for his daring escapes, made history in 2001 when he fled from one of Mexico's most secure prisons. With the help of prison guards and careful planning, he managed to evade capture. His audacity solidified his reputation as one of the world's most dangerous criminals. However, escaping from ADX Florence is a different challenge altogether. The prison is equipped with layers of security, including impenetrable walls and a vigilant guard force. Inmates spend about 23 hours a day in their cells, making any attempt at escape seem nearly impossible. Here, in ADX Florence, inmates like El Chapo are stripped of their power and left to ponder the consequences of their actions. But amidst the grim reality, there's a glimmer of hope. Some inmates earn a precious hour of outdoor time, a brief taste of freedom in an otherwise bleak existence. Yet, escape remains a distant dream, with security measures tighter than a drum. Motion detectors, cameras, and steel doors stand guard, casting a shadow over any thought of breaking free. It's a fortress designed to crush the spirit of even the most daring criminals. In this game of cat and mouse, El Chapo finds himself trapped in a labyrinth of concrete and steel. His days are a monotonous routine, punctuated only by the occasional glimpse of the outside world. The origins of ADX Florence trace back to a notorious incident in 1983, when inmates at the United States Penitentiary in Marion, Illinois, brutally attacked correctional officers. This event exposed the vulnerability of existing prison systems, leading to the proposal of a more secure facility for the most dangerous criminals. Thus, ADX Florence was born, a high-tech prison designed to confine inmates deemed too dangerous for traditional correctional facilities. Since its opening in 1995, it has gained notoriety as one of the most secure prisons in the world. In the shadow of ADX Florence's imposing walls, El Chapo's reputation for daring escapes reached legendary status. His audacious breakout from a high-security Mexican prison in 2015 left authorities dumbfounded and the world in awe. It was a feat that seemed straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster, cementing his status as a mastermind of evasion. But as El Chapo found himself sentenced to life plus 30 years in ADX Florence, the question lingered: could he pull off another miraculous escape? The Supermax prison, often dubbed the Alcatraz of the Rockies, was renowned for its impenetrable security measures. With its remote location in the Colorado wilderness and state-of-the-art surveillance systems, it seemed like an insurmountable fortress. Yet, history has shown that where there's a will, there's a way for El Chapo. His previous escape in 2015 was a testament to his resourcefulness and cunning. After his arrest in 2014, El Chapo was confined to the Altiplano prison, considered one of Mexico's most secure facilities. But with the help of his associates, he orchestrated an elaborate plan to tunnel his way to freedom. The tunnel, equipped with lighting, ventilation, and a motorcycle on rails, stretched for over a mile from a construction site to the shower area of El Chapo's cell. In the dead of night, he slipped through the opening and disappeared into the darkness, leaving authorities baffled by his audacity. The daring escape sent shockwaves across the globe and exposed glaring weaknesses in Mexico's prison system. It was a humiliating blow to the government, which had touted El Chapo's capture as a major victory in the war against drug cartels. Instead, it revealed the extent of corruption and collusion within the country's law enforcement agencies. As El Chapo's legend grew, so did the scrutiny on ADX Florence, his new fortress of confinement. Could lightning strike twice? Could he find a chink in its armor and engineer another great escape? The prospect seemed unlikely, given the prison's reputation as a fortress designed to hold the most dangerous criminals on the planet. But for a man like El Chapo, impossible was just a challenge waiting to be overcome. With his ingenuity, connections, and sheer force of will, he had defied the odds before, and there were those who feared he might do it again. However, despite his track record, escaping from ADX Florence is a Herculean task. Federal agents and prison authorities are adamant that it's virtually impossible for him to do so. The prison's security measures ensure inmates spend almost all their time confined, under constant surveillance, and heavily restrained. The infamous incident at the U.S. Penitentiary in Marion, where inmates orchestrated fatal attacks on correctional officers, led to the conception of ADX Florence, a facility designed for the most dangerous criminals, with no regard for human life. Since its opening in 1995, ADX Florence has housed some of the most notorious criminals, including El Chapo. But life inside its walls is far from glamorous. Inmates like El Chapo endure extreme isolation and harsh living conditions, a far cry from their days of power and influence. It's a grim reality check for those accustomed to a life of luxury and freedom. Despite criticisms of its harshness, ADX Florence remains steadfast in its mission to contain the most dangerous individuals. And while El Chapo may dream of another daring escape, the odds are stacked against him. The prison's impenetrable security and stringent measures make the possibility of escape seem like a distant fantasy. Facing the reality of his imprisonment, El Chapo acknowledged the harsh truth he would grow old and eventually die in confinement. But the ADX Florence wasn't a place where inmates ruled, it was meticulously controlled by the authorities. Located in Florence, Colorado, the Supermax prison sprawls across 37 acres as part of the Federal Correctional Complex. Despite its capacity for 460 inmates, it has never reached full capacity. As of January 2023, it houses 326 inmates across 6 units, each reserved for the most dangerous offenders like El Chapo. Life at ADX Florence is nothing short of grim. Inmates spend 23 hours a day locked in single-person cells, only granted 1 hour of outdoor time, heavily monitored and restrained. Even during their brief respite, they're shackled or handcuffed, depending on their level of danger. The outdoor area resembles an empty pit, limiting inmates to a mere 10 steps in a straight line or 31 steps in a circle. And as for food, it's carefully regulated to prevent any harm to themselves or others. El Chapo's meals are delivered to him, and even his plastic tray is inspected for potential weapons after he's done eating. Inside their cells, inmates have minimal amenities: a bed, a desk, a stool, all made of concrete. The toilet flushes automatically to prevent clogging, and the sink operates without a dangerous tap. Some cells have TVs, but their programming is closely monitored. El Chapo is permitted recreational, educational, or religious shows, along with a selection of books and magazines. The windows are tiny, offering just a glimpse of the outside world, while motion detectors, cameras, and remote-controlled steel doors keep inmates under constant surveillance. The prison's control center monitors them 24/7, with a panic button ready to seal every door instantly. Beyond the walls, 12-foot razor wire fences and armed officers patrol the perimeter, while 12 gun towers stand watch. The idea of escaping seems like a nightmare, with countless obstacles and security measures in place. Yet, as dreadful as ADX Florence is, there's even more to its horrors. At the ADX Florence, nicknamed the Alcatraz of the Rockies, inmates don't land there by chance. They earn their spot through a history of misbehavior and serious offenses. This high-security Supermax prison, nestled in Florence, Colorado, boasts 6 different security levels. Among these is Cell Block H, where the infamous El Chapo is housed, constantly monitored and perpetually restless, according to his lawyer's claims. But El Chapo, despite his notorious reputation, isn't the apex predator of ADX Florence. That title belongs to the denizens of Range 13, a unit reserved for the most ruthless and violent offenders. Among them is Ramza Youssef, a convict tied to the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, a stark reminder of the grave crimes that warrant the strictest control within the prison walls. Then there's Thomas Silverstein, one of the minds behind the conception of ADX Florence, further accentuating the formidable nature of its inhabitants. Interestingly, within this fortress lies a subtle loophole. Inmates displaying good behavior may qualify for transfer to units allowing more social interaction, potentially paving the way for covert escape plans, a scenario not unfamiliar to El Chapo. Despite ADX Florence's reputation for ironclad security, incidents within its walls have shaken its facade. Murders and suicides have occurred, prompting lawsuits alleging abuse and inadequate mental health care. Concerns were amplified when the refusal to extradite Julian Assange cited conditions at ADX Florence, casting a shadow over its practices. This raises a pointed question: do inmates like El Chapo truly merit the treatment meted out at ADX Florence? It's a contentious debate, with arguments on both sides. Some argue for the necessity of stringent measures, given the severity of their crimes. Others advocate for a re-evaluation, citing concerns over solitary confinement and mental health care. Yet amidst the controversy, one fact remains: ADX Florence is a fortress of isolation, where the most dangerous individuals are confined, their every move monitored and controlled. It's a place where the line between justice and punishment blurs, leaving room for scrutiny and debate. In the end, as the sun sets on the desolate landscape of Florence, Colorado, and the lights of ADX Florence flicker to life, one can't help but wonder what truly lies behind those impenetrable walls. And amidst the darkness of its corridors, do the echoes of humanity still resonate, or have they been swallowed by the relentless march of time? As we wrap up, remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Stay connected for more fascinating stories and insights into the world's most infamous criminals and the prisons that hold them. Thank you for watching.